Hello everyone, now today I'll be giving a speech on renewable energies, as it were, more about green startups to be honest, but there will be a lot of terminology coming into that, so a bit of tech and green energy as it were. It should be quite easy, I hope. There'll be certain terms like social entrepreneur, a business accelerator. I'll be mentioning a Paul Graham very quickly. I'll be speaking about two companies, just mentioning them, My Mosambi and PVC Complete. I'll also be talking or mentioning venture capital, and I'll be using the term unicorn. I'll then go on and explain what kind of unicorn I'm talking about, of course. And that should be it. So I'll get started right now. When we say that the grass is always greener on the other side, we mostly talk about our envious and jealous thoughts about someone's economic, professional, or personal success, bemoaning our own dire situation. Instead of perpetrating this defeatist attitude, however, I'd like to put my own spin on the saying and suggest, why should the grass only be greener on the other side? What can we do to ensure the grass is greener, or as green as it gets, regardless of where we or it is? That's the thought of many a social entrepreneur embracing the green wave and setting up environmentally friendly companies. These focus on tapping the potential of renewable energies, i.e. sun, water, wind, etc., to make a difference for the benefit of the world and to make a nice little profit on the side too. Meet the green startups of the 21st century, raising funds in crowdsourcing or investor rounds to inject into their life and world-changing ideas. These companies are scattered across all corners of the world, from your traditional startup hub in Silicon Valley all the way to Berlin, Hawaii and Africa. Most of you have come across the term startup when dealing with scrappy young ventures, hip San Francisco apps and huge tech companies. But what is a startup? And is it limited to the code crunching world? A startup is both a company working to solve a problem where the solution is not obvious and success is not guaranteed, as well as a state of mind, enabling people to innovate on existing ideas to solve critical pain points. Now, to be a startup, you must have set up shop quite recently. And though there are no hard and fast rules on defining a startup, since revenues, profits, and employment numbers shift drastically between companies and industries. According to an expert on the matter, a certain Paul Graham, a head of a business accelerator, a company 5 years old could still be a startup, although the average lapse of time running between startup and maturing to a regular business is around 3 years. That's when most startups indeed stop cease being startups. This often coincides with other factors that indicate a graduation from startup. It could be acquisition by a larger company, having more than one office, revenues greater than $20 million, employing more than 80 members of staff, having over 5 people on your board, and the founders have personally sold shares. Well, that seems pretty clear then. So how do these green startups do, and what are they? Entrepreneurs in 2016 increasingly entered the green industry, which garners support from more conscious consumers and impacts investors by today. These companies possess a fundamental triple bottom line, aiming to generate revenue and profits for shareholders, while also working to increase the social good and save our planet from dire environmental problems of the 21st century. Take some companies operating in the Bay Area, for example. The folks behind one company, My Mosambi, plan to put solar panels on schools in India and make an ethical profit of selling the resulting electricity. Other talks about PVC Complete, a software company simplifying the design of solar panel installations. Some companies instead work on making the electrical grid more flexible or develop software to help power plants move electrons through the grid. Others are creating software to decide the best ways to charge and deplete batteries. For the most part, however, that product is software. Venture capitalists working in renewable energy aren't interested in hardware, such as solar panels or windmills. They take too long to develop, and other countries can make them better, cheaper, and faster. Instead, they invest in a software that will knit together the hardware, code that will automate the design of solar projects, and the process of investing in solar itself. Take once again California's Bay Area. It is pushing tech that would stop climate change, or at least slow it down. Many states in the United States have a renewable power standard that requires utilities to get a certain percentage of their power from renewable energy by a certain date. But California has the largest. It's 50% of renewables by 2030. California has more solar panels than any other state, and nearly half the country's supplies of plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, as well as generous subsidies for buying said electrical vehicles. For all its well-known flaws, the Bay Area persists as a magnet for all things technology, as well as the investors who want a piece of that technology. Nearly 3 times as much venture capital is invested in the Bay Area, $21 billion to be precise. And that's more than in New York, the next largest market, at $6.9 billion. Almost half of all so-called unicorns, i.e. tech startups, valued at $1 billion or more, reside in California. So why haven't you heard about these new energy startups then? Well, part of the reason is that, unlike other tech startups, they don't need to drum up the hype needed to get their apps downloaded and installed on a few million phones. They're business-to-business companies instead of being business-to-consumer companies. Startups in the renewable energy space also tend to carve out a niche for themselves, and so encounter less direct competition. Indeed, there are fewer companies working with utility data than writing another food review app, for example. Working in renewable energy usually requires working with utilities, the kind of heavily regulated industry where move fast and break things isn't an option. So the exponential growth of a company like Uber or Airbnb, for example, just isn't possible. But for now at least, it also makes for a more stable business model. These startups are young, geeky, and building the technology that, they hope, will bring clean energy to the masses and save the troposphere while they're at it. Thank you.